To all the non-believers, 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 non-believers. I'm making out.
What's up, y'all? This is Jay Varsity, and welcome to another episode of NBA Talk. This is episode 129. And even though football was the big topic of the weekend when it comes to sports, we talk about hoops on this channel. And we're going to get into some NBA when it comes to the big three Brooklyn Nets finally getting their first win, the Lakers still being undefeated on the road, and all that good stuff. So anyway, let's get right to it. Let's start with the headline like I just mentioned. The big three Brooklyn Nets finally getting their first win, and it just so happened to be against my Miami Heat. Despite the fact that Bam Adebayo put up 41 and decent numbers on very efficient shooting, it still wasn't enough to take out the big three in the fourth quarter. Kyrie Irving put up big numbers down the stretch, and the big three to put them up. KD and Harden took over. It was just game over after that. Miami still hasn't had their full roster and who knows how long, and it's starting to really agitate me. It's really starting to agitate me. I understand we got these protocols and all this other stuff, but man, I haven't seen a full Miami roster since the season opener. Like, come on, man. Like, I want to know what in the hell is going on. Like, we know what we're seeing when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. We're seeing what the hell their game plans are when it comes to defense, because we're going to be seeing a lot of these close games from here on out throughout the rest of the season. But I'm just really asking, when the hell am I going to see a fully healthy Miami Heat roster? I felt like I haven't seen Jimmy Butler in forever. Like, I really don't. I haven't seen Jimmy Butler. I haven't seen Tyler Hero. I haven't seen Avery Bradley. Like, come on, man. Like, I haven't seen Jimmy Butler since Christmas Day. I haven't seen Jimmy Butler since Christmas Day. That is the last time I saw Jimmy Butler. In the first half of the Christmas Day game, that's the last time I saw him. And then Tyler Hero is in and out. I haven't seen Avery Bradley. Like, come on, man. Miami Heat are they're a much better team than what they're showing right now. They're a much better team than their record is. Like, I'm getting sick and tired of these weak losses that they're taking. I know I just mentioned that the big three in Brooklyn did their thing down the stretch, but Miami could have took that game. They really could have took that game. But whatever. Credit to Brooklyn. Credit to Brooklyn. They have three superstars. Yada yada yada. We had people with big nights. Obviously, after Brooklyn took that victory, they had taken back-to-back L's to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I obviously covered the first one, but they absolutely got stomped. But that due to the fact that Kevin Durant also didn't play in the second one, but still doesn't excuse how they got stomped in that second matchup. The next topic I'm gonna get into. The Lakers are still undefeated on the road. The Lakers really confuse me right now. They really do confuse me. They're 4-4 at home, but they're undefeated on the road. That's what kills me. It's like they play much better when they're on the road. Now, granted, they were playing the Chicago Bulls, and if you were looking team-wise, you should say the Lakers should win that game. Even due to the fact if Zach LaVine has a big night, but it's just how they get up for road games it's just astonishing to me, to tell you the truth. But it's like they can't bring that same energy at home. That loss against that win against the Bulls, and then that big win in Milwaukee. I forgot to even mention that big win against Milwaukee is like they get up for some games and then they downplay others. Like that horrible loss against Golden State. Like that should have been a blowout. That game against Golden State should have been a blowout. They were up by 20 plus. They were up by 20 plus in less than a couple minutes in the first quarter. And then they were just messing around with them ever since. And then they just gave up the game. They absolutely gave it up. And then you got the game against Milwaukee where they're going up against Giannis and these guys, and they absolutely figured out how to stop Giannis, which is another topic I'm going to get into right after I'm done with talking about the Lakers. The Lakers, I don't know what is it about. I just don't know what it is about road games. But then they're just up and down when it comes to being at home. Anyway, I hope. Hopefully they could bring that same energy that they have on the road to their road games, which I believe they will, because I believe they're somewhat coasting through this season, and you starting to see it. Like I say, they downplay other games, and then they get up for certain games. So yeah, the Lakers are 8-0 on the road. LeBron James still looking like he's the best player in the league. Anthony Davis has been up and down. Like, I'm really questioning Anthony Davis right now, because he wasn't that bad of a free throw shooter. I'm not saying he's horrible right now, but he's really starting to miss more free throws this year. If I'm the only one noticing, or if I'm not, if I'm just going crazy, let me know if I'm going crazy in the comments section. But I don't know. I'm just seeing Anthony Davis miss more free throws, and I feel like he's starting to take a while to get into his rhythm. Maybe because teams are starting to double him more now, because they know the Lakers try to get him hot in the first quarter. And so on, because look how easily he was getting his touches against the Bulls. Maybe they don't want to see that kind of production when they play against AD, because once you get AD going, LeBron gets more loose. But yeah, other than that, you got KCP. He's shooting the highest 3-point percentage this year. He's shooting the highest 3-point percentage this year, and I believe it's about what? I believe it's about 41%, I believe. But yeah, the Lakers when they get hot, it's impossible to stop the Lakers once they get hot. And then once they start getting easy buckets in transition, it's a wrap. It's an absolute wrap once they start getting easy buckets in transition. Anyway, don't the Lakers for now. Like I said during my Lakers topic, when I mentioned the game against the Bucks have a serious problem. The Bucks have a very, very serious problem. They need to figure out another way to use Giannis. They need to find a way to make Giannis more of a weapon instead of a liability, because now the way that teams are defending against Giannis, he's starting to just look like a train wreck, and that's literally what it looks like. Because if you saw the game plan the Lakers used, they literally had somebody ready to go and take a charge every time Giannis was ready for the drive. Whether it was Montrezl Harrell, Alex Caruso, LeBron James, hell, even Anthony Davis would take a charge. These guys would not. Teams are now realizing that all they have to do is play that wall defense to slow down Giannis. That's what literally every team is doing to stop Giannis, and Giannis is falling for it every single time. He fouled out in the game against the Lakers because of that. Now, I understand they did win against Atlanta, but Atlanta doesn't have the bodies that the Lakers do. They don't have the physical players that the Lakers do. No disrespect to Atlanta. They were playing good until they fell into that stretch where they were losing games and all that. But they're more of a shooting team than a defensive team. And if we know the Lakers ever since last year, they have been one of the best defensive teams in basketball. And you saw the game plan right in front of their face. They were taking charges every time Giannis was going to the paint. And the Bucks are not changing their strategy. They need to find a way to make Giannis. They need to find a way to get Giannis more off ball. And at the same time, Giannis needs to try to find a post game, because if you're seeing teams are literally standing in the right outside the restricted area, ready to take a charge from you, it's like you can't just keep trying to run through people and expect that they're not going to call it on you. Referees are starting to call more charges than blocking fouls against Giannis. It's just true. I don't know if I'm the only. I don't know if I'm seeing things, but I'm seeing that Giannis is not getting those blocking foul calls, and he's getting a lot more charges called on him because now teams have figured him out. They're figuring him out, and it's starting to become a problem. And that is including the fact that even when they do call blocking fouls, Giannis is struggling at the free throw line. He's really struggling at the free throw line. So the Bucks have a huge dilemma in my book. As hot as they can get offensively, when they get stuck, they get stuck. When they can't get a bucket, they will go the next 5 or 6 possessions without getting a bucket. And to me, that is the truth. Giannis needs to be used. Giannis needs to be used more like a traditional big. Teams are preparing more and more. Every time they play the Bucks, they just say, "Hey, somebody get ready for a charge," because that's all they're gonna do. That's all they're doing. I hope the Bucks find a different game plan, because their current game plan right now is gonna make them lose more games than win. Now, you're gonna beat teams that you're obviously gonna be more superior than, but when you play these elite teams like the Lakers, the Nets, the Clippers, don't be surprised if all these players are ready to take a charge, because that's all they're going to do. Don't be surprised the next time they play Philly or something like that. They're going to be ready to take charges. I'm going to get into the Philadelphia 76ers in a minute. But yeah, Mike Budenholzer, I'm not seeing any adjustments. And I don't know how far the Bucks are going to get if Mike Budenholzer doesn't make any adjustments. Because you could get away with this in the regular season when it comes to that whole bulldozing 5-out offense that you have with Giannis. But when it comes to the postseason, this is where it's going to become a problem. And if they keep this up, this is going to be an early exit if they keep going at it with this the rest of the season, because teams are figuring out how to stop Giannis, because he doesn't have those other weapons like he did last year. He doesn't have a George Hill. He doesn't have a Eric Bledsoe. He doesn't have a Malcolm Brogdon. He doesn't have those guys. Now, yeah, you got Chris Middleton, who's a very nice player. I'm not disrespecting him for nothing at all. Chris Middleton is a very nice player, but he doesn't have that impact on the Bucks like Giannis does. When Giannis gets in foul trouble, this team is not the same. This team is not the same when Giannis gets in foul trouble. They're a lot smaller. They're less mobile, because let's be honest, Brook Lopez is not exactly the most mobile center that you have. So my opinion is I think they need to get another guard. I think, because I like Jrue Holiday, but they need a backup guard. They need a backup guard that could keep up that pace of the offense and somewhat get Chris Middleton going. Because Chris Middleton, I'm starting to notice that they're running the offense a lot through Chris Middleton, especially through the fourth quarter. So I'm starting to see that he's becoming more of that fourth quarter guy. But I just don't see Chris Middleton being that perfect option that he needs to close the game. Giannis is the franchise guy. You're the highest paid player in the league. The ball needs to be in your hands. So in my opinion, you need to figure out a way to get your butt in the post. Yes, you need to act more like a traditional big. You can't be charging into the paint and then not expect to get called for a charge. That's just my opinion on that. That is just my opinion on that. Before I get into the Sixers, I want to give a shout out to the Charlotte Hornets on that win against the Orlando Magic. Gordon Hayward really striving, and he's really striving on the Charlotte Hornets. I'm really loving what I'm seeing from Gordon Hayward. I'm really loving it right now, because Gordon Hayward, to me, it was like he was up and down in Boston. He was up and down in Boston, and you really started to see him thrive a little once Kyrie was gone. I'm not taking shots at Kyrie or nothing, but it was like I just feel like he didn't like that bench role. I feel like the bench role, I just felt like he didn't like it. You could kind of see it. You could see that he wanted to get that starting role back, and he plays well when he starts. Now, granted, like I said, it didn't work out well. It didn't work out well when he was playing in Boston when he got that starting job because it created a lot of friction and all that, and then he took the bench role and all that. But yeah, he's really striving with the Charlotte Hornets, and he's really showing that he could be he could be that leader. Now, are the Charlotte Hornets gonna make the playoffs or anything like that? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. That's just a question. We'll see. But that was a great clutch bucket from Gordon Hayward. Shout out to him. And shout out to Jaylen Brown. I know you guys know my feelings about the Boston Celtics. I don't like the Boston Celtics, but I gotta give respect where respect is due. Jaylen Brown having big weekends. He had a great game against Philly, even though they lost. He had another great game against the Cavs, beating them by 38, and he put up 33 points in 19 minutes. Is that what I'm hearing? 33 points in 19 minutes? Jaylen Brown is really starting to strive this season. He's really becoming that player that everybody thought he could be. Because I was really starting to get worried about Jaylen Brown every year so far since he's been in Boston. He had that okay year in his rookie season, and then he really bounced in 2018. And I never saw that Jaylen Brown again. I was like, what happened to him in 2019? And then he started to bounce back in 2020, and he's just improving. He's improving even more since. I'm really liking what I see from Jaylen Brown. His three-point shooting has improved. His shooting in general has improved. He's just an overall offensive player at this point. Now you're starting to see that real combination when Jason Tatum gets back on how great of a duo they're going to be for this Boston Celtics team. That's what's going to make this Boston Celtics team so dangerous moving forward. Now, granted, like I said, they lack size. They don't have a great big, so that to me is always going to be their downfall. But talent-wise, when you got Kemba Walker, you got Jason Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown, you have a defensive maestro like Marcus Smart, you can't tell me you can't find a way to build around these guys. That's just my statement on that. But yeah, shout out to Jaylen Brown. Now, let's get on to the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers are a three-game winning streak. Maybe more. I haven't been really following the Sixers consistently like that. I'm gonna be honest, but I have been following them most of the time. And Joel Embiid, I'm just so happy every time I see Joel Embiid have the numbers that he's putting up. I'm gonna say it again. We're finally seeing the player that he's becoming. I'm loving that Doc Rivers is just giving him the keys and saying that the offense needs to go through him. The offense is going through Joel Embiid, and you're seeing the Sixers thriving through it. They had back-to-back wins against Boston, and they got a win against Detroit. To me, don't sleep on the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid is looking like an MVP candidate. He's looking like an MVP favorite to me in my book. He's looking like an MVP favorite in my book. Even though I picked Luka Doncic to win MVP, it's just the Dallas Mavericks are having an up and down year, and so far Philly has been consistent. Even when Philly loses a game, you're not seeing them consistently losing. You're not seeing them consistently lose. They battle on the defensive end. That you have to give Philly. They're one of the best defensive teams in basketball. So yeah, that's my opinion on the Sixers right there. They're playing like one of the best defensive teams in basketball. Joel Embiid's playing like an MVP right now. I hope he keeps this up. I'm hoping he keeps this up. I really hope so. Speaking, like I said, speaking of the Dallas Mavericks, they're just up and down, man. They just need their full roster back. I'm just gonna say it. They just need their full roster back. A lot of these teams just need their full rosters because the players that are in and out of the lineup is just, my God, it's just really starting to frustrate me. And you're seeing that it's affecting teams on an overall game situations that you don't see. You're seeing that they can't run the same plays because they don't have certain individuals that could be able to complete that play. It's like you just see it. One of them has to. Another team I'm going to get into is the Portland Trail Blazers. The Portland Trail Blazers, to me, I didn't know. I haven't been following the Blazers like that. But when I heard that supposedly that they were one of the worst defensive teams in basketball, I was like, there can't be. I'm like, they just can't be. You can't tell me that they're one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. Now, granted, they are missing C.J. McCollum on the offensive end, so that's a huge miss on their part. But they're bad, bro. They're bad on the defensive end. Anybody is scoring on them. Like even they had a close game against the Knicks. Now I'm not disrespecting the Knicks. The Knicks have been balling. I'm loving what I'm seeing from R.J. Barrett. But the Portland Trail Blazers they were just getting scored on every different angle. Now, granted, Portland did win that game 116-113. Damian Lillard did have a big night, but the Trail Blazers have been up and down. At least they're not as disappointing as the Wizards right now. But the Wizards have had so many games. The Wizards got so many games that were postponed, and then every time they play, they just can't win a game. But on a quick side note, let me just get back to what I said about the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau, he has unlocked this New York Knicks team. Like, Tom Thibodeau has really unlocked this New York Knicks team right now, man. He's doing wonders for R.J. Barrett. He's doing wonders for Julius Randle, for Kevin Knox, Austin Rivers, R.J. Barrett especially. I feel like R.J. Barrett is a more aggressive type player. He's just not standing at the perimeter. He's attacking the paint. He's taking the mid ranges. This feels like a whole different New York Knicks team. They're gonna fight you all the way to the end. Like I feel that grittiness already when it comes to the New York Knicks, and I really like what I'm seeing there. Tom Thibodeau has been doing wonders, and I was really concerned about Tom Thibodeau because he's had a very high reputation of running his players to the ground. So that's just that in my book. Oh my God. Oh, just give me one second. The Utah Jazz. How do you guys feel about the Utah Jazz right now? The Utah Jazz have been playing some great basketball, and Donovan Mitchell is looking like a better player every game so far. I'm really loving what I'm seeing from Donovan Mitchell. He's not that wild, insufficient shooter that I'm seeing that I saw in years past. He looks like a whole different player. This looks like a whole different Utah Jazz team. I believe they're the third best team in the Western Conference. I believe they're 11-4. I believe the Utah Jazz are 11-4. Now, do I believe that they're title contenders? It's up and down for me. Because a lot of people are already considering that the Utah Jazz are title contenders. I'm not so sure about that, but I believe they're getting there. They're getting a lot closer. I believe they're one piece away from being a title contender. They just need one more piece. I don't know what it is. Maybe you could tell me in the comments section because I certainly don't know. I'm not the GM. Obviously, we're all not the GM. But if you had to give your opinion, what is that one piece that the Utah Jazz are missing? Are they missing a bench piece? Are they missing a key piece in the starting lineup? Just please give your opinions in the comment section. Now, last I gotta mention gotta be the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets finally got Michael Porter Jr. back, and they look like a much better team when they have Michael Porter Jr. back. Now, like I said, now that he's back, he better be in the starting lineup. Was he in the starting lineup in the last game against Phoenix? I don't know. Let me just check real quick. No, he was not in the starting lineup, but he needs to start. I said it. I'm saying it right now. Michael Porter Jr. needs to start. They need as much firepower in the starting lineup as they can get. They're just a whole nother team when they have Michael Porter Jr. in the starting lineup. There's 19 points per game that you were missing. And you're seeing now how much more explosive this Denver team is. Now, Jamal Murray has been up and down. I need to see a little more consistency from Jamal Murray because he has put that label on himself ever since his explosion in the playoffs. So I want to see more of a leap from him, even though he has taken big shots in the games against Phoenix. Jokic looks like a much better player. He looks like a much better player than he was even last year. But it's just the consistency with Denver. We need to see more consistency from Denver. They're in a situation that they shouldn't be in right now. They shouldn't be in a situation where they were outside the playoff push, even though we're still so many games left in the season. But now that they have Michael Porter Jr. back, let's see if that starts to change. Because, like I said, this kid, Michael Porter Jr., is special. When he can get going so easily, and he's just an offensive explosion. Now, granted, his defense is very, very sus. His defense is very sus, but he can improve on that. He's got the height and the length. He can improve on that throughout his career. But as of right now, he's an offensive weapon that needs to start. I don't believe Will Barton should be starting. Will Barton is a bench piece. He needs to be a sixth man coming off the bench, and he'll be a great sixth man. If you put him on the bench, he's a sixth man of the year candidate in my book. But that's just my opinion. Who knows what the Denver Nuggets are going to do moving forward. But yeah, I believe I've covered everything I've had to cover. We know the Clippers are still balling. I believe they won 4 or 5 straight. Other than that, I believe I've talked about everything that needs to be talked about. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell if you like basketball content. Stay safe. This is your boy Zay Varsity, and I am out. Peace.
We got some non-believers out